Hi, I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Hey, you there in London, I'll be at the King's Head in Borough at 8 p.m. for my Max Rage live show. Yeah, I'm still on tour, taking it to the bankers. Stacey Herbert, what's happening with the bankers and all their fraud?
Well, Max, is this your presidential tour? Because I see from this little video here, somebody in Pennsylvania is driving around with a nice, what, is that an Eldorado? And it says Keiser Salente 2012.
Yeah, well, Salente was going to fund our campaign until he lost it all at MF Global. What's up with that, Gerald? Yeah, no, I think that's a Fleetwood. Cadillac Fleetwood.
Well, speaking of MF Global, I have quite a few stories on that. First, we're going to turn to a video here, and this is Bill Fleckenstein, and he's being interviewed on CNBC. And he's asked by the presenter whether or not he thinks he'll see his money back.
I do think there's some possibility that the money will show up because it occurs to me that if, in fact, seg funds were misappropriated, that would have had to be several people involved with that, and I'm surprised that if that were the case, someone hasn't been charged with a crime yet. And since that hasn't occurred, it might just be the sheer volume of people heading for the exits combined with bad systems could have resulted in this missing $600 million.
Oh, my God. Well, either Bill Fleckenstein is a bimbo, or he's desperately trying to talk his way into getting his money back, or both. This is kind of interesting that professionals who've written books, you know, Bill's written a book about the corruption in the banking sector, and when it happens to them, whether it's Bill Fleckenstein or Gerald Salente, of course, is a little bit more savvy in terms of the fact that he got unmercifully pen-stated by the banks. Bill Fleckenstein seems still in denial. He's like a wife-beating victim. Oh, I got my money stolen. Please do it again.
Well, you must have heard this many times when you lost money for clients as a banker.
They blame themselves. That's what's fantastic about having customers when I was working on Wall Street. You lose their money and they blame themselves. That's fantastic. You just keep stealing their money and they keep crying about it. Oh, I'm so bad, I need, help me, relieve me of my money and the guilt.
So here's Bill Fleckenstein praying, hoping, believing that all the good faith in the world that the money will be found. Well, let's turn to another clip where Bart Chilton, one of the executives at the CFTC, which is regulating this market, well, he's asked the same thing. Where is the money?
Good question. I've been doing the Jerry Maguire, show us the money, for a couple of weeks here. We've had people there, and it's not where it should be, but it looks suspicious as heck to me. It's either nefarious or illegal, in my personal opinion. But that's why we have an investigation. The money should be there, Andrew. It's not. That money should be sacrosanct, and it's really troubling.
Oh, Bart Chilton. His name keeps coming up. Remember a few months back, he was involved in the Cantor Exchange, HSX, box office futures scandal. We got inside information about how he was working with MPAA and all the skullduggery got done behind the scenes on that one. Now he's claiming ignorance, like, oh, we don't know where the money went. Of course, they went into the account, as Salente has said so eloquently. They stole my freaking money. They're just steal money now, and pretty soon they'll steal money accompanied by a knock on the head and thrown into prison. That's what happens when you let kleptocrats run the system, whether it's in Greece, Ireland, America, the UK. This is their methodology.
Well, he refers to Rule 1.25, and this is a regulation brought in. I know you're...
What? Oh, yeah, rule. Yeah, there are a lot of rules that they obey down there at the CFTC. Oh, yeah.
So, from 2005, bankers, the brokers trading on this exchange here, were able to use internal repos to basically buy any debt in the world. Here he explains it a little bit.
And one of the things that we did was we allowed these internal repos back in 2005.
Internal repo, just to explain to people, this is something where you can internally commingle some of the accounts for the part of the day?
Well, you're not supposed to commingle it, Becky. What you do is you take the segregated customer money, which is supposed to be sacrosanct, job number one for us. They take that money and they use it for something that is supposed to be a safe investment, like maybe a AAA sovereign debt or a U.S. Treasury. But it's a temporary thing. You agree to buy it back. That's the internal repo.
Let me explain something about the so-called rules in Rule 1.2.5. all of the banks on Wall Street doing what they're doing today, the money center banks, the too big to fail banks, if they were being governed by the laws that were in place 15 years ago, they would all be in jail today. However, because of the money they've made stealing, buying congressmen, buying senators, buying the Supreme Court, buying the judicial system, buying the political process, those laws don't exist anymore, or they change the law. Here's Rule 1.2.5. What year, 2004?
Regulation 1.25, which was relaxed in 2000 and then further relaxed in 2004, 2005.
Yeah, well, this is what is an example of there's a rule in place, a law, to keep people from stealing. Like you see a gate in front of Winston's Jewelry down here on Plaza Athénée in Paris. That gate, that armored guard, the bulletproof glass is there for a reason. Because otherwise people would just take all the jewels. So there's rules. So here you have in 2000 and 2004, 2005, every single year, the banksters, the criminals, the people who in 1793 in Paris got their heads cut off because of damn aristocratic, kleptocratic maniacs who steal money. Those people decided to rewrite the laws because they want to steal the money with impunity. And the regulators said, give us a bribe.
Well, Max, you mentioned Winston Jewelers, and I do believe it was actually robbed a few years ago by a man dressed as a woman.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
No, but
I would never be caught in public with high heels of that color. I'm a Chanel man.
So let's turn to this woman in this next story, Lori Ferber. She's chief counsel at MF Global. And prior to that, she was chief counsel at Goldman Sachs for 20 years. Okay, now
You're killing me. You're killing me with this.
She's at the heart of this, the relaxation of Regulation 1.25, okay? So tiny rule change at the heart of MF Global failure. From December 2000, the CFTC, that's when they first agreed to amend Regulation 1.25 to permit basically riskier investments that could make more money for Wall Street. Remember, they didn't have to share any of those profits with their clients, but they were taking their clients, the customer funds, the segregated funds, and betting it overnight, but they had to replace it in the morning. So then in February 2004 and 2005, Regulation 1.25 was further amended and refined to the liking of Ferber and the banks. In the end, the door was opened for firms such as MF Global to do internal repos of customers' deposits and invest the funds in the general obligation of sovereign nations.
Okay, well, here's the thinking that went on here. You see, because sovereign debt, AAA rated or AA rated sovereign debt, is considered to be creditworthy. But, of course, the CFTC, SEC, FSA, CFO, SFO, PPP, la la la, all these regulatory agencies that add up to a big bowl of alphabet soup of nothing, they didn't bother to take a look at the fact that concurrently with the sovereign debt being used as collateral to perpetrate fraud, there's collateralized, credit default swaps and other derivatives that are created to do an end run around the margin requirement, the minimum capital requirement, the sovereign debt requirement as stipulated by Basel, Basel I, Basel II, Basel III. See, they went around that because they've got 10, 20, 30 times more credit default swaps than there is sovereign debt. How come Greece's debt keeps getting downgraded? How come Ireland keeps finding itself in the pooper? How come the entire Eurozone is collapsing? Because every time they announce a bailout of a $1 trillion or $5 trillion, Wall Street and the crooked banks just issue 50 trillion more credit default swaps. Doesn't matter if you put up 100 cents on the dollar in a AAA rated sovereign credit. If I've got 40 trillion in CDS to sell naked into the market and drive your sovereign debt down, I'm going to win, and I'm doing the Penn State on you.
The fact is here that they were leveraged 50-to-1. So all they needed was a decline of 2% overnight. And this was on European debt, which was moving at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% overnight. So, of course, there was a run on their banks.
Right, but that run, that move and that debt is not a market behavior. It's manufactured through market manipulation. Let's be clear about that. That's not a normal market. There's no normal price discovery happening in this market. The prices are determined ahead of time, then Goldman Sachs manipulates the markets or JP Morgan manipulates the markets to achieve the price that they predetermined. That's where we're at now. Free market capitalism is dead.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't pick up on how I set you up there for this Lori Ferber in relation to the jeweler theft at Winston's, because I assumed that she could be Goldman Sachs's own Lloyd Blankfein, dressed as the general counsel, going into these meetings at the CFTC, arguing.
Are you suggesting that Lloyd Blankfein is a cross-dresser who dressed up like this regulator for the CFTC and goes into meetings and lobbies on behalf of his firm, playing the woman card? He's trying to seduce. What is, oh my God.
Now,
I just had a very strange thought of Lloyd Blankfein.
You're turned on?
No, but I mean, well, how far did he go? How far did Lloyd go to get these rules changed? Oh, Lloyd, you're a bad boy.
Well, I'm finally on MF Global.
Ugh.
PigFest 2011. Bank of America Merrill Lynch is offering to buy claims against MF Global. So Bank of America's Merrill Lynch unit is soliciting for the purchase of claims against MF Global. As you may recall, Max, Bank of America is one of the major creditors of MF Global with J.P. Morgan and is reported to be one of the debtors, along with J.P. Morgan, involved in the litigation trying to obtain superiority of their claims over customers whose money was taken, lost, stolen by parties unknown for now.
Plus, their balance sheet is owned by the Federal Reserve Bank. So when they say, oh, Bank of America, or who else? What other Shikakta
It's called Bank of America Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, they're just joined into the hip with the Federal Reserve Bank, who's just going to expand their balance sheet by however many trillions it requires to make whole these unholy securities.
Yeah, but it's also, Max, the case is here that because of their power in this mafia, this syndicate, this racket, they're able to put these segregated account holders in a distressed position by being more powerful to be able to step in front of them in this chain of creditors standing in line at the trustees.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's another leg to the massive manipulation scam of putting these people into a stress position similar to what they do in Guantanamo Bay.
This is preposterous. I've never approved of anything like that. Our source was the New York Times. Dr. Strangelove, do we have anything like that in the works?
A moment, please, Mr. President.
Under the authority granted me as Director of Weapons Research and Development, I commissioned last year a study of this project by the Bland Corporation. Based on the findings of the report, my conclusion was that this idea was not a practical deterrent for reasons which at this moment must be all too obvious.
And finally on this story, Jesse's Cafe American says, I have nothing against vulture funds per se, although what I hear a few of them have done with two of the failed Icelandic banks and their former directors proves Rule 4 of zombie banking land. Always use the double tap.
The double tap refers, of course, to 2 shots to the head.
2 shots to the head, which brings me to more Giabo art sent in. Max Keiser, Vampire Banker Hunter.
Oh, there I am, hunting the...
hot.
All right, Stacey Herbert, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you, Max.
Doug Away, much more coming away, so stay right there!
Oh. Oh, God. Ooh. Oh, God. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh, yeah, right there. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh. Yes. 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 Oh. Oh, yes. 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 Oh. Yes. 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 Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh.